Hey there, hello and welcome. It is Madeline here. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, or whenever it is that you are watching this today. I'm really excited to be here because today we're talking about healing loss or dealing with a loss over the holidays. I have my corporate friends on the line as usual. I've got 3 devices going, so please forgive me if I'm looking not directly at you. So today we're talking about dealing with the loss over the holidays, and I'm going to share a special meditation at the end that's going to help you heal that a little bit, okay? And this came up for me this week because, I talk to callers on a regular basis, and I talked to one young man yesterday that really moved me, and he was still suffering from a loss that he had experienced years ago. If you're on the line, put something in the chat so I can see that you're here. I can see who's here if you like. I can see that you're here, but not who, unless you chat with me most of the time. So anyway, if you've suffered a loss, right, especially if it's a recent loss, the passing of a loved one, or a significant relationship ended, even a job loss. But the meditation today is specifically for the passing of a loved one, or even the ending of a significant relationship. It can help you start to heal that wound. And the first point that I want to make today is that it's okay to heal that wound. We are meant to heal our wounds and to recover from our losses. So, because my business, the nature of my business, I spend a lot of time on social media, and I've been seeing posts and content about loss and grieving and glorifying the grief. Now, grief is a necessary and beautiful aspect of our human experience. And, our emotions in general are a beautiful aspect of our human experience. Our emotions, including grief, allow us to live life more deeply, more fully, and experience each other and our relationships more deeply, okay? So, and, grief and pain is just as important or significant to our well-being as joy and happiness, okay? So that being said, with the holidays now being upon us, I'm seeing content on social media glorifying grief and saying how, we can never get over, right? Like, you should never get over the loss of an important loved one, that, grief is just too painful and that it will be with us forever. And I respectfully disagree, okay? So I believe that all our emotions serve a purpose, and that we are meant to feel that the negative emotions are there to awaken us, protect us, that we are meant to feel them, learn from them, and then move on, that our inherent nature is joy, and that most of the time, and that our goal, right, our goal and our purpose is to be in that joy most of the time, okay? So what do we do when we suffer a loss that can be painful, especially if it's someone really close to you, or even, an animal companion or a pet, right? It's a loss. It's painful. It hurts. We're meant to grieve, right? And we all grieve differently, right? And however you choose to grieve is fine for you. But the moral of the story is that we're meant to grieve, right? So we're not supposed to push it down, right? Depending on your gender and your generation, you might have been taught that, you need to push those feelings down. You can't, men can't cry. That's kind of old school, but there's a lot of old school people still watching, right? Men, you can't show your emotions. You've got to suck it up and recover. You've got to be strong for the people around you, and you don't get the opportunity to feel. your grief, right? Well, that creates emotional baggage, right? So, which I've talked about before, which means that if you don't process your grief, your emotion, if you don't process your negative emotion, then it resides and will build up in your body, in your mind, and in your spirit. Not really in your spirit, but it will separate you from your spirit if you don't, excuse me, if you don't process it properly. Okay? So what do you do over the holidays? Okay? So if you've suffered a loss and recently, or there's a loss that you haven't, that happened a while back and you haven't recovered from yet, that's indication that you've got emotional baggage and that you need help, right? You probably need help. If you're carrying around grief from a loss of a long time ago, then you've created emotional baggage and you need a technique to help you release it. Okay, so before, I can imagine some of you getting like, what do you mean? I'm going to miss my mother or my lover or my child, heaven forbid, forever. That's something you never get over. I don't really want to quibble about the language, okay? But what I do want you to know today is that you should be able to think about that person that you've lost with fondness, with love, with joy in your heart, without the pain, right? Dare I say, even without the sadness or a lot of sadness. That's what happens, right? This is the work that I do in my primordial power with my clients, is that we're meant to feel sadness for a time so we can process whatever's happened, but we're not meant to live there, right? And we're not meant to get lost in the sadness. That's where depression is born from, right? Is when we spend too much time in the sadness and we get stuck in the sadness, then we don't know how to get out, and other things happen, right? Other situations occur. Hey, Robert, you're online. Fantastic. Other situations occur and then you build on that. You build on that sadness, and it builds in your being. It builds in your body. It builds in your mind, right? It builds in your emotions. It becomes depression. It becomes illness in our physiology. So what do you do instead, right? So again, if you've suffered a loss, I'm sorry for your loss. And thanks, Robert. I'm sorry for your loss, but put on the idea that you should heal from that loss, okay? And by healing from that loss, you process the emotions, right? The first step is processing the emotions, feeling the emotions, and we're going to do that in our meditation in a little bit, right? So that's one way to do it. And then know that, right, once you process the emotions, there's lots of ways to do that, and I have a super powerful way of doing that with my clients in my Primordial Power program that I'll tell you a little bit more about at the end. You process the emotions, you let go. You're able to let go of the accumulated negative emotions, and then you can move into remembering your loved one with positive emotions, with joy, with love in your heart. Focus on the happy memories and know that feeling good, right? When you think about your loved one who has passed on or who is maybe no longer in your life, that it's okay to feel good when you think about them. It's okay to think about them with fondness, with joy, and remember the happy times, as opposed to getting bogged down in the grief of they're not with you anymore. And also put on the idea that they are still with you, right? Our loved ones are always with us, right? So I believe that when we pass away, when we die, that we leave this physical plane, but we don't leave the ethers of the universe, right? That they're just with us in another way. And that when you engage in spiritual practices like the meditation that we're going to do, like reflection, that your loved one is never far away. Okay, it's never far away from you. They're only a happy memory away from you. So if you're suffering from grief of a loss, whether it be recent or a long while ago, I think this meditation will help you. And another thing to help you in the moment is, and I learned this technique from my friend's therapist, right? My friend was in therapy, and when I had suffered a loss, she had suggested I do this, and it helped immensely. And that is that when you are thinking about your deceased loved one and feeling the grief, right? Write down, and it's important to write down, to do this longhand, right? With pen and paper, or whatever you like to write with, but longhand on paper. The things that you remember about them that brought you joy, right? Maybe the things that they used to do that made you feel good, or the way that they used to behave, or that made you happy, or just some memory about that loved one that brings you joy, and write it all down, right? And then you'll have that record to remind you of later, or when, nothing is coming to mind in a moment of grief, you can reference your notes and be reminded of the joy of the memory of your loved one. So regarding the holidays that are upon us, right? So the holidays are upon us, and there can be the happiest time of the year, and they can also be the most painful time of the year, right? When you've experienced a loss or you're going through a challenging time. And the key is to choose what you're going to focus on, right? So we are amazing beings, that we have the power of choice, and we can choose what we focus on, and we can choose what we decide to put our emotions, to put our focus and our attention and our imagination. And once you've actually done never mind. I'll get back to that. I'll get back to that later. Anyway, we have the power of choice, right? To focus, to put our attention where we want. So know that it's okay. It's okay to remember your loved one and be joyful about it, right? Have happy memories about it, okay? And as the holidays are now upon us, if you're feeling too sad to celebrate, it's okay. Know that it's okay to scale back, to say no. Say, no, I'm not going to do that this year. I'm not up to it, especially if your loss is fresh, if this is the first holiday season without your loved one. It's okay to say, no, I'm not going to do that, and I'm just not up to it, and to scale back a little bit, okay? By the same token, the flip side of it is, know that it is okay to celebrate, all right? And like I remember being a child, and in my culture, right, when a significant, an important member of the family, a close member of the family died or passed away in a given year, we didn't, decorate for Christmas. That was the cultural tradition, right, is that we didn't decorate for Christmas. We didn't put the tree up. We didn't, put the lights and decorations up, in honor of respecting, that our loved one had left the earth this year. And as a child, I never understood that, right? I was like, what do you mean? I want to celebrate. Yeah, I miss, specifically my grandfather died. I was 10 when my grandfather died, which was the first major loss for me in my life. And I remember, thinking, what do you mean we're not going to celebrate Christmas because Avu died earlier this year? I want to celebrate. It's okay to celebrate. I was very close to my grandfather. My grandfather raised me, and notice how I can remember my grandfather with joy. Yes, that was a long time ago, and time is a healer, right? But so is processing your emotions in a healthy way, okay? So it's okay. That's the flip side, right? No, it's okay to celebrate, right? If you've suffered a loss and you feel like, oh, I shouldn't be celebrating Christmas, that's not going to honor the death of my loved one, it's okay for you to do. Hey, Shanice, glad to see you. Glad you made it, sister. It's okay to celebrate and feel joyful. That doesn't dishonor the memory of your loved one. Your loved one who has passed, your loved ones who have passed want you to feel joyful. They want you to feel joyful, and they want you to remember them in a joyful manner and state. And, you know, don't ask me how I know that, but I know that. That is something I know to be true. Okay? So, and the last point I wanted to make, and this is regarding, and as usual, I'm talking way longer than I wanted to. So the last point that I wanted to make about grief and processing the loss of a love, okay, whether it be a loved one, a death, or a separation, you know, an ending of a relationship, is that don't let it become your story. Okay, so I work with people on a regular basis, and a story that I hear on a regular basis is that, you know, my mother died 10, 20 years ago, and I haven't recovered from it. I understand how important mommies are, and in my opinion, mommies in particular should live forever, but they don't, right? They don't. They're most likely, the natural order of things is that they're going to leave this earth before we do, okay? And I do know that our mommies don't want us to suffer after they've gone, okay? Or I hear that my dad passed away 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I'm still grieving that loss. I haven't been able to get past that loss. That's not natural. That's not normal, making air quotes for my friends on the line, right? No judgment. I just want you to know that we're meant to process grief, get past the grief, and then be able to remember our loved ones and happiness and joy. Okay, don't let it become, and then it becomes your story, and then you wear that, right? Then you know, like I've been seeing on social media, you wear that loss and that grief like a badge of honor. It becomes an identity, right? I had this loss and I've never been able to recover from it, and then it follows you into other relationships. And when you're carrying around baggage from a previous relationship, right, whatever that baggage is, that baggage doesn't allow you to fully enjoy, appreciate, and experience your current and your existing relationships, doesn't it? Does that make sense? I hope so. So when I was in my 20s, my fiance died suddenly in an accident, right? That was devastating. At the time, I didn't know how to process my emotions, and I carried that grief with me for a long time. I made that my story, right? I stepped into that as that was my identity, right? I was the young woman who had lost her love and was never going to recover from it. And as I have since recovered from it, and now I think of my late fiance, my son's father, with deep love and joy and fondness in my heart. But I wasn't able to for a long time, and for a long time, for years after he had passed away, I had carried around that grief, that pain, and that identity of being, you know, the young woman who had suffered a tragic loss, right? And I wore it like a badge of honor for way too long, way too many years. And that prevented me at the time, right? For those years at the time, well into my 30s, I want to say, which was just last week. But well, that pain, that grief, that identity followed me for years and prevented me from experiencing love in other relationships in a happy, joyful, and healthy way for a long time. So, and the moral of the story today is that we're meant to process our emotions and learn from them, to include processing our grief, so we can think of our loved ones with happiness and joy in our hearts instead of pain and grief. Okay. And you do that by, doing some kind of release work. And that's the work that I do with my clients in my Primordial Power program, right? Most people who are our age, they've got a lifetime of accumulated baggage, accumulated negative emotions. They don't know how to let go of it, how to shift it. And that's the work that we do in my program. We let that go right off the bat, and then I help you integrate the changes into your life. And if you'd like to talk to me about how I can help you take your power back, right, I invite you to book a power session with me. And you do that by going to MadelineCorrea.com/apply and grab the time to talk to me. I have a couple spots open still this year, okay, because my Primordial Power program is opening. Enrollment is open now for us to get started in January. But actually, we're going to get started right away, right? So, and I could probably even help you a little bit deal with your emotional baggage over the holidays, right? We'll wrap up the year, the decade on a high note and gain momentum for 2020, a new decade with power, purpose, and joy, okay? I'll put the link in the comments as soon as we're done here. So now let's prepare for meditation, okay? And this is a meditation to heal the loss of a loved one, okay? This could bring up some emotions, so I invite you to be someplace safe, quiet, where you can let your emotions flow freely, okay? So get comfortable, right? Either seated or laying down, and close your eyes and connect with your breath. And I invite you to start. We're going to start with 3 ha breaths to start the process. Okay, so that's an inhale. Ha breath is an inhale in through the nostrils if you can. Twice as long exhale out an open mouth. 2 more. One more. It's meditation time if you're just joining. Your eyes are closed. And I'm going to count down from 7 to 1. And with each number, you're going to become more relaxed. 7, 6. You get deeper and deeper relaxed. 5, 4, feeling relaxation throughout your body. 3, deeper relaxed. 2, 1, completely relaxed. Now I invite you to step into your safe place. Imagine yourself in a favorite place that's safe and that you feel loved. It's important that you feel loved here, okay? Imagine yourself there now. Once you arrive there, walk along that place. And as you walk along that place, see your higher self, if you want to, only if you want to. See your higher self approaching you. Your higher self is coming to bring you love and support. It's always there with you. But we can engage with it actively now. Allow your higher self to take your hand if you want. And find a nice place to sit in your safe place. Sitting there, feeling safe, comfortable, and loved. Invite your loved one to join you now. I invite you to pick one loved one. Okay, you can do this later on your own with another loved one. Invite your loved one to come and join you now. Watch them approach. Notice how they're radiant. There's a radiant light about them and how they're joyful. Invite your dearly departed loved one to sit beside you now. You can take their hand. Say anything you need to say to them now, and feel whatever emotions are coming up for you fully. Really feel the emotions. Now, as you sit with your dearly departed, feel those emotions fully. Allow whatever comes up. Feel the pain, the anger, the loss, resentment, whatever you felt as a result of your experience and experiencing this loss. Allow yourself to feel it now. And once the emotions have passed, I invite you to engage in conversation with your loved one. What do you want to say to them? What do you want them to know? And hear what they have to say to you too. Do that now. I'll watch the time. Remember, your loved one is different now. They've healed completely from whatever may have ailed them in their physical life. They're completely healed. And they're here now to help you heal as well. Allow that healing to occur now. Let the healing sit together with your loved one. Let the healing and the love flow easily back and forth between you now. Wrap up whatever it is you need to say. Give you a few more seconds. And then bring your awareness back into your body. Leave your safe, happy place. Knowing that your loved one is always with you. Returning back to your physical self. I'm going to count from 1 to 7 to bring you out of the process. 1, 2, becoming a little more aware. 3, with each count. 4, maybe start breathing a little bit more deeply. 5, becoming aware of your breath. 6, 7, fully aware of your physical surroundings. And when you're ready, when it's comfortable, open your eyes to the room. I hope the meditation was comfortable, that it served you. I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below, or you can email me or private message me if you like. Although in the group, right, in our private group, everything is private in there. Again, if you've been unable to heal from a loss or some kind of trauma and would like my help, like to see if I can help you get past it, schedule a power session with me. And you do that by going to madelinecorrea.com/apply, grab a spot. So happy holidays, my loves, and thank you for joining me today. I will look forward to seeing you again soon in the next video. And until then, I will see you in the gap. Namaste. Be blessed.